What should people be looking out there in terms of a mold expert?
Oh, this is such a good question because you can literally go to a weekend class and call yourself a mold expert. So there are regulations, we call them IEPs, indoor air quality professionals. And there's an IACA, I believe it's indoor air quality. I can get the link for your podcast
Yeah.
afterwards, but it's an organization that certifies, but it's still kind of a wild west out there. And so the difference is you can have a lot of people that maybe were contractors, kind of know building materials. You do want someone who understands construction because it's all about construction defects, or basically we think about this as an envelope around us and it's barrier penetration to that envelope. So say there's a leaky window, there's condensation on the window, the attic isn't sealed from your main area, and there's condensation or differences in humidity in the attic. There is a leak from your fridge or your washer or dryer or somewhere under the floor behind the wall where you can't see it. And 95% of cases have places where you don't see the black toxic mold. It's behind a wall, it's under a floor, it's under the carpet. It's not usually visible. Some pump may leak and people think, oh, let's just dry it out. But if it's been more than 48 hours of damp on a porous material like drywall or carpet or anything that can absorb water, it's going to be a nidus for mold unless your humidity is less than 20%, which it rarely is. So back to the professional, how do you find a good professional? The difficulty with my kind of patients that I see is I am seeing mold doesn't affect everybody equally. It's not an equal opportunity employer. So there's about 25% of the population that has a genetic issue with detoxification, and they have more trouble tagging antigens like toxins or mold toxins in the body, and basically identifying for the immune system to excrete them appropriately. So you can have a whole family or a workplace where 2 or 3 or maybe 25% ideally is affected by the mold and very, very sick from the mold. And the other 75% don't even notice, or maybe they have a stuffy nose or a little congestion, but their cognition is fine, their immune system is fine. And the difference is this innate immune system's ability to tag. Now, I'm framing all that in a remediator or an inspector because many inspectors have no idea how mold affects the human body, and they might come in and tear out that wall if they first thing you would know is if they don't use a negative air pressure system where they put up a containment and use an air scrubber and take that air and actually blow it outside while they're doing the remediation. If they're not using the appropriate barrier protection on themselves, which means an N95 or an N99 mask, so the kind with the big charcoal air filters on it, and a complete suit, like a HEPA kind of suit, they're not protecting themselves. They're probably not going to protect you. That's number one. Number two, if they start to open up a space or do inspection and they're not containing that, what happens is mold is like dried flower arrangement, and it'll sit there back behind the wall. And yes, it's excreting mycotoxins affecting you and the environment to some extent. But the moment you open that up, it's like flicking or blowing that the dried flower, and it just blows into a million fragments. Those fragments, even if they're dead, can still affect the innate immune system. We can still react to those those particulate. And the mycotoxins they produce are like VOCs, they're volatile organic compounds. I know you know about this in your world. So that means they're less than 2.5 microns, which is like the size of a virus. So they can embed in paper, in porous materials in your home. And again, say, for example, I have a problem behind this wall. A good remediator would contain that, would take out any particulate that would be porous that might have been damaged by water up to 2 feet past. So they'd be sure and have a good margin. Then they would check that air quality before they take down containment. If it's clean, there's nothing in the air, then they take down containment. And then after remediation, here's the important part. They need to actually fog, which means this oil-based fog will pull down particulate, like all that dead flower kind of stuff. And it's the dried mold particles, and then actually clean. And those are the two things that create an environment that's safe for someone to get well in. And many remediators don't even know that that's part of the plan or part of the process.
Sure. Wow.